Doc, help me. My child doesn't want to go to school. I've heard it from other parents too. I've got 3 specific things that you can do about that. Today is more about principle than it is about specific techniques. There's a big difference between principle and techniques. I believe if you have the right principles down, that's going to help you come up with the right application or the techniques to support those principles. So principle number 1 is diagnosis before treatment. Sounds like an appropriate thing for the doc to say, right? We have to appropriately diagnose what's going on before the treatment makes any sense. What if you were to go to the eye doctor and he said, Doc, I can't see very well. And he says, oh, here, try these. And he takes his own glasses off and hands them to you. No, that's not going to work because he needs to diagnose what's going on with your eyes and then treat appropriately to that diagnosis. So there's a lot of reasons why children might not want to go to school. Let's see if we can drill down on the why, because that will help us to determine what to do about it. There's a few specific questions you can ask. Now, when I say diagnosis before treatment, I don't want you going out and diagnosing your child. I'm hesitant to do that, and I'm a licensed psychologist. What I want to diagnose is the problem so that we understand what we're dealing with. So here are 3 questions that you can use. Number 1, is this new? If your child just barely started refusing to go to school, that's different from if it's something that you've been dealing with now for 2 years. Is it new? A similar question, is it typical of my child or of children in general? I can't tell you how many parents have come into this office just all in knots about something that's actually pretty typical for most kids. So that's why I said, is it typical? Is it typical for my child, and is it typical for children in general? What kid likes to go to school? Well, a few of them actually do, but that's a smaller percentage. A lot of times, it's pretty common for kids not to want to go to school, and they get pretty creative about how they can avoid it. So that's why I want you to ask, is it typical? And then the third question, is it isolated or more general for my child? In other words, is it only on Mondays or on A days or B days or under certain circumstances that my child is refusing or resisting to go to school? If that's the case, then there may be a particular teacher or there may be a particular class or an experience that they're avoiding rather than school in general. So you can see how asking these questions helps us to do a good diagnosis first before we just jump in with the treatment. Diagnosis before treatment. Got it? Now let's move to the second principle. For this one, I'm going to say communication before prescription. Communication before prescription. It kind of follows along the same lines as diagnosis before treatment. In the communication before prescription principle, we want to talk to our child in a way that encourages open conversation and communication. They probably already have some ideas or some input about this if we can get them to open up. And oftentimes we can draw a solution from the child that keeps us from having to do anything at all because they're going to solve it. Staying calm is really important in this process. If you're all upset, it's going to be hard for your child to talk to you and to really open up. So make sure you keep a calm voice, calm face, and calm body as you encourage them to open up with questions like, sweetie, tell me a little bit more about what's going on at school. Try to stay away from the yes or no, the closed-ended questions. You know, things like, is everything okay at school? Now, if they can give you a yes or a no, they will do that and then they're done. We want them to open up and actually share more information. Tell me more about is a great phrase for you to use, and you can fill in the end of that sentence with a lot of different things. Tell me more about school. Tell me more about your teacher. Tell me more about recess. As you start to pick up on what's going on, then you can always go back to, tell me more about that. And your child will start to open up and will get more information so that we can do the right thing. Another point while we're on communication before prescription, establish some good communication with your child's teacher. Your teacher has more access to your child than you do during the day. And they've probably already got some ideas about what's going on. Keep those lines of communication open. I have to say something here too, because my wife, Vicki, works for the school district. And she was sharing with me a few days ago that sometimes parents are very adversarial toward the teachers. And I know that there's sometimes things that you're concerned about that teacher is doing. The last thing you want to do is alienate the person who has the most direct access to your child on a daily basis. Think of that teacher as being part of your team. Bring that teacher in ways that show appreciation and acknowledgement, and then use that teacher as one of your main resources for getting information and communication going about the problem that you're having with your child avoiding school. You'll probably learn a lot that way. So we've covered already diagnosis before treatment, communication before prescription. The third principle that I would suggest to you here today is problem solving before punishment. A lot of times we want to jump in and punish when really we've just got a problem we need to work on together. I already mentioned that you can often draw solutions out of your child. Collaborate with your child. Team up with your child to take this on. Remember, the problem is not your child. The problem is the school issue that we're having, and we are going to team up against that problem. Align with your child, be on their team, be their primary advocate and supporter with a firm resolve to take on the problem together. Rather than punishment, let's think about this as support and encouragement. There's a lot that you can offer as a parent that doesn't put you in the middle of this thing and helps your child to take a higher level of responsibility. Encourage their proactive efforts to address this problem in a way that helps them to move forward. Compliment them for their efforts and for their courage. Be there as their primary cheerleader. And then you are still the parent, which means sometimes you get to set limits that are not necessarily popular. That's okay. It's part of what it means to be a parent. Your job is to love them no matter what and even if. Because you love them, you want them to succeed. Because you want them to succeed, you understand that they're going to have to do some things that are hard in order to create an easier life. I believe that it's going to be hard easy. We do the hard thing now and get an easier life. Or you can take the easy hard route, which is where you do the easy thing now and you get a harder life. Sometimes the challenges your kids are facing in going to school feel really hard for them. Would it be good for them to learn to handle those hard things now so that they can create an easier life for themselves? Yeah, you get this as a parent because you got that kind of perspective. They don't yet. So sometimes as parents, we have to set appropriate limits. Do the diagnosis first. Make sure you've got the communication in place. And when you've got the right information, it's okay for you to set appropriate limits so that they learn that they can do hard things. If you want more support with that, we've got a lot of videos in the Positive Parenting playlist here on the channel. Make sure you check that out and team up together with other parents as part of this community to share ideas. There's 2 specific things you can do to share ideas with each other. The comment section down below is a great place to interact with other viewers who have ideas. Jump in, be part of that conversation. You might also choose to share this video with other parents that are conscious and aware like you are. I appreciate your being here as part of our Positive Parenting community. If you haven't checked out the Parenting Power Up yet, don't you think it's about time? There's a link right over there and also a link right down there in the description.
tell her, look into my eyes and never let it go.